150 million round at a 1.2 billion valuation. So officially unicorn, which is great.
Pablo Palafox is the co-founder and CEO of HappyRobot, an AI platform running agents inside the enterprises that move the real economy, like DHL, Uber Freight, and Schneider.
You wanted to leave HappyRobot.
I really wanted to understand how they thought there was no better way for me to do that other than just like literally becoming that.
They started with freight brokers, and today their agents run customer support, sales, and hiring for telcos, utilities, insurers, among other industries.
Being really good at FDE, like, is that a long-term differentiator?
It's the biggest go-to-market lever.
Why go global so early?
We had an unfair advantage by being European.
How can you win in that market?
We were able to implement these agents in 2 days.
Wow.
Versus this other provider was quoting the customer 3 months.
Today, we talk about their playbook, going all in on forward-deployed engineers, going multi-vertical, and going global before people thought they were ready.
You're about to announce a round, a big round. But I want to go a bit back to your origins, touch a bit more of your personal story, because I hear there's a parallel universe in which you were doing something totally different than HappyRobot. Your brother, Javi, told me that you were an amazing singer and performer.
The amazing part is debatable. I was trying to...
He said he would even cry in your performances. He told me about the Aladdin and Sister Act plays.
Yes.
And he even said that there's a chance you could have ended up in Broadway.
That's a bit of a stretch, but it was part of my life. So music has been a big part of my life. I spent a lot of my early years playing the piano. Really, since I was 5, I entered the conservatory, and that led me to some singing, mediocre at best. But then during college, I entered this amateur musical with whom today is one of my best friends. Who actually introduced me to my wife today.
Wow.
And fun fact, my CTO and co-founder, Luis, was also part of the
Oh my God.
of those musicals. That's less known.
That's a musical mafia, man.
Luis, at Aladdin, Luis was the audio manager behind the scenes. And then in Sister Act, he was the priest.
Wow.
I'll try to find that video for you to share and shame Luis. It was actually great. He did a fantastic job. But I think that's shaped a lot of my maybe ability to navigate being exposed to a lot of customers, a lot of conferences. Like I just kind of feel relatively in my environment when I'm having to like be pitching
and presenting in front of a lot of people.
Yes. So I thank my mom for pushing me to pursue music from the get-go.
Yeah.
It does help you.
And you never thought about it like professionally, more seriously?
You know what? Like someone told me during the preparation of these Aladdin musical that I could go that route. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. But no, I didn't really consider. I did consider piano, but we entered into a different territory in Spain. When you go into the whole musical career, is like, okay, you're essentially gonna have a hard time finding a job because it's really hard. So one of those discussions with your parents, like, what do I do?
It's the irony of parents pushing you very early on to get into music, but then when you grow up, it's like, yeah, do it, but not so seriously, right?
Whenever I have kids, I'll do the same. I think it's such a, it really helps you like have to navigate a lot of things in parallel. When I was young, like I remember my afternoons were packed with things. I would have soccer and tennis, and then right after that, like my piano lesson, and then like harmony, and then like it was 8 p.m. and I still had to prepare for like a math test for tomorrow. So I think that helps you really, that provides you with some self-management tools really to coordinate your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And speaking of management, I heard that early on in the history of HappyRobot, you had a very, I would say, unconventional idea, which is you wanted to leave HappyRobot to become a, let me see the name, freight broker.
Yes,
for 3 months.
Why did
that?
I guess Javi told you that. So when we started the company, we really wanted to build for complexity in the enterprises that run the world, that really run the real economy of our societies. And supply chain was really where we started. As you know, freight brokers in particular were our first niche. Today, we're very lucky to be serving customers in the telco space, in the energy space, utilities, financial services, and our origins in supply chain really taught us that you have to go really deep to understand the problems really well. It's not as easy as just like, Mr. Customer, here's an AI magic wand, go deploy it. No, you actually have to sit down next to the operators, to managers, really to bring everyone together along that transformation. So for me, it was very important to understand what we were trying to rethink. Those processes that these freight brokers were running were deeply complex, and it entailed a lot of operational context that was in people's minds. So I really wanted to understand how they thought, how they would run their day, and there was no better way for me to do that other than just like literally becoming that.
Freight broker.
Now, we didn't have to do that in the end. Javi was like, dude, don't do that. Like we can actually ask for.
We need a CEO.
We'd actually ask the customer to pay us so that we get to do that for them. So like you don't have to actually get a job for doing that. But it did cross my mind.
What do you think you miss if you don't go that deep? Or what's the extreme to how deep you can go? Because in the end, there's no such a metric as how close you are to a customer. Right? It's just intuition. Right? You cannot say, okay, I'm 10 out of 10 in
embedded in the customer.
In the customer.
That's a great question. I think you miss or you risk staying very shallow. And shallow solutions are, first of all, easily replaceable.
Okay.
Second of all, it's hard to provide value if you don't really understand the problem you're solving. So it's just like it's a no-brainer. It's a must, really, to go as deep as you can, especially with AI being so new to everyone. The type of work that we are doing today is contextual in its essence. It depends on the customer's operations. As you know, or as the audience might know, one of our biggest customers is DHL. Well, DHL operates differently from their competitors. And we cannot just simply go and say, here's a platform to deploy agents, go and use it. No, they're highly, everything they do is highly contextual. Everything they do is tailored to their own operations. And we try to cater to those needs with a platform that is an enterprise AI platform that really is capable enough or flexible enough to adapt to their own operations. And that is really important for us. And the only way to do that is by asking the right questions and listening. And I think that those are two of the core capabilities of our deployments motion, so-called deployment strategists and forward deployed engineers. Those are like the two roles, which is a bit of a spectrum, really. It's a bit, we'll talk about that if you want. But our deployments motion shines or spikes in, again, asking the right questions and listening. And those two things, combined with obviously deploying the solution, is what really gets us the right to do more. And this is what we talk about internally. We have to earn the right to solve for problems. You cannot just ask for more if you haven't really solved something really well. So yes, we want to do more across our customers, meaning we want to not only just be a point solution for one particular function. We just not only want to do, let's say, customer support. We also want to help on sales. We also want to help on back office and finance, payment collections, because all of those functions really interconnect with each other in businesses like the ones we mentioned before, in the utility space, in the telco space, supply chain, financial services. Those are businesses where customer support, for example, doesn't live in a silo. Sales doesn't live in a silo. It's all part of a broader operation. So to your question, critical to be as embedded as possible in the customer. There's no number to signify that, but it's key to be in it.
Yeah, and I think something that's also key about AI compared to maybe the traditional SaaS is that it's more transversal. Yes. Right, like SaaS used to be bought by, I don't know, sales, as you were saying, or operations or customer support. Now when you sell AI, the impact is much more transversal to the organization, and you're almost like selling to many departments at the same time, right? I've heard founders tell me, I was selling to the CIO, and then the CHRO came, and then the CFO, because they realized, oh, actually, if we buy this affects more things that we actually expected at the beginning. We were starting to buy this.
Super true. We see that all the time. our ICP, our buyer changes throughout the partnership. We might enter through the chief HR officer, who wants a solution for recruiting. We do a lot of recruiting. We help companies with staffing and screening of candidates. But then the sales, the CRO, the sales team might come and say, hey, I have a problem with doorman accounts. I have too many doorman accounts that I'm not checking in on. We're working with one of the largest, several of the largest telcos actually looking at that use case on the B2B sales avenues, where they just have too many mid-sized customers that they cannot possibly reach out to and checking on them or upsell them. So they're using agents to do that follow-up. So yeah, buyers are all over the house. This is really what we're seeing as well.
You mentioned something that maybe it's not what you hear typically from a Silicon Valley founder, which is good listening when you hire. So as you're now expanding the team, hiring, how do you measure or test for good listening? Which sounds like a key. I personally talk about these roles like you need like good builders of AI and then good translators of AI.
First of all, I think you can learn to listen. I probably was not a good listener earlier in my career. I still have a lot to learn myself because humans like to talk about themselves. And
so you're going against human nature.
I think so, 100%. I find myself just like talking too much about us, HappyRobot, myself, and then like realizing, oh shit, like I should have let the customer tell me about their problem. So it's a bit of a muscle you have to exercise, and a lot of it is just like checking recordings of customer calls you have. In the interview process, we screen for that through a case study many times, and you also see that. It's really curiosity is everything. If you're curious enough, you will naturally tend to want to listen and understand the problems. But yeah, I think it's a muscle that you train as well.
So we were talking about that you're growing. I mean, you started in logistics, and now you're growing across industries, but also geos. How do you think about keeping or maintaining that level of customer obsession you've described as you grow in both axes?
We talk about how we're not going horizontal, we're going multi-vertical. And that's it's a bit of a nuanced answer there, because yes, we're tackling more verticals, and hence you could argue, hey, you're distracting yourself from doing the one thing you were doing really well, which was
or the
supply
expertise
chain.
to serve logistics is different to telcos, right?
The first caveat here is what is logistics, or what is supply? Like people refer to supply chain logistics as the same thing. In reality, there's a lot more than meets the eye when you say supply chain. You can be talking about distributors and shippers and retailers and manufacturers, or the logistics providers, which sit in the middle, or the carriers, which is basically the people that move the shipments, ocean carriers, trucking companies, airlines are carriers as well. So that's that. So in a sense, we already have demonstrated really to the market and to our customers and to ourselves and investors that we were able to serve different verticals within supply chain. We did start in one niche, which was freight brokers, logistics intermediaries, in particular in the US. But then we expanded to freight forwarders, which are logistics intermediaries operating globally. Then we expanded to ocean carriers, then to trucking companies and airlines now. So that in itself has already shown us how to run a multi-vertical go-to-market. And now we're leveraging that go-to-market muscle, that vertical go-to-market muscle, to really expand to other industries in the so-called real economy. We're tackling right now energy and utilities. Think about all of the work that comes
PG&E.
That type of companies. We work with Naturgy, for example, which is one of the largest utilities, a 30 billion revenue utility out of Spain and operating LATAM as well. We just did a public announcement with them after going live with a so-called customer, to put it simply, customer support agent that is helping millions of customers in Spain solve their issues. When they have a leaky boiler, you call in and you talk to a HappyRobot agent that helps you schedule a technician or fix the boiler yourself if you can, or like fix the washing machine if that's the problem. So we have that segment, energy and utilities. Telcos is picking up for us a lot. We're seeing a lot of work to do there in the telco space. Not only just like the so-called like easy customer support queries, but also the coordination of field technicians for fiber rollout. Payment collections is a huge one for these folks. B2B sales, as I mentioned before. So that's the second industry we're tackling. And then finally, financial services. Financial services for us, we break them down into insurance and so-called banks. We're very excited about the work in those two avenues. We already work with several home and auto insurance companies in Europe and expanding in the US as well. And the interesting insight is that the work we've been doing with, for example, trucking companies in the US, where a driver would call in and ask, hey, I broke down, my car broke down, my truck broke down, I need a tow truck. Yeah. Well, that is exactly the same road assistance use case we're building for our customers in the home and auto insurance space, particularly in the auto space. No? So that was super interesting. The resemblance or there's the same structural complexity throughout these four verticals: supply chain, energy utilities, telcos, and really financial services, in particular home and auto insurance.
Yeah, interesting. So there's like some characteristics of a product that can basically fly from one industry to the other.
The true reality is that the platform really could serve any industry, to be fully honest. It's an enterprise AI platform. Now, we cannot just go and serve everything and everyone under the sun because of a go-to-market perspective. It's harder in a sense. The word of mouth is big for us. Like the fact that we can work with we work with Repsol, one of the largest oil and gas companies. Well, they were really
the doors with mobile or other ones.
Say again.
That opens up the conversation with the other.
Oh yes, exactly. And actually, they were we got to them really through Naturgy. So that was a reference, which was super interesting. Same with the telcos. We cannot disclose names yet, but we will soon. And those are
There's always this tension in startups between going, deeper vertically or becoming more horizontal or multi-vertical. How did you decide it was the right or how did you know it was the right moment to do it?
AI, it's just like changing the game. What you can do today.
From the outside, my impression would be, hey guys, it seems like it's still early to go out of logistics.
That was exactly the first response we even ourselves had, like, we should like stay here and like own it. The reality though is that the product we built was not meant for everyone. It was meant for the enterprise. And that has really important implications. When you build a product that is meant for the enterprise, what happens is the mid-market is not a good fit because
enterprises from different industries are more closer to each other.
Yes, thank you for, you literally filled out my last part of the sentence. An enterprise operating in supply chain has a lot more commonality with an enterprise operating in the telco space than you would see in the vertical itself.
Yeah, like a mid-market supply chain to an enterprise.
DHL has more commonality with telco A or utility B than with Pablo Logistics.
Yeah, or a regional supplier in California.
Yes. So that was the realization we had. And we had this realization relatively late. That was around December last year that we decided to expand really. And it's been working really well. In the last 6 months, things have been picking up very, very,
was
very
it
good.
pull, like the market asking you, hey guys, can we try your platform?
A little bit of that. We also started putting more effort into the outbound initiatives, really. But there was a lot of pull because a16z or other investors were connecting us to folks that actually wanted to talk to us because of maybe the press release we had with some of our biggest customers in the supply chain space. They said, hey, I don't, like I see like DHL posted about working with you guys, or I see that Kuehne+Nagel, which is one of the largest freight forwarder, is using you guys. Like, I wonder if we could also use your agents. And that was the realization. Enterprises from other industries coming to us and asking for enterprise AI, not point solutions for any particular function.
How would you advise our founders to think about that decision?
It's hard because I do think that we benefited from being super focused in one segment at the very beginning. In particular, what happened was we had to build a product that could serve all of the functions for one segment. All of the functions within a company for one segment. You know what I mean? So we had to build a platform that could support the head of HR, the head of sales, the head of operations, because the company really just any enterprise wants to use the least amount of tools possible. That's typically what you hear from CIOs and CEOs themselves. They don't want to have like 40 vendors. So we had to build a product that could serve everyone within the company. Now
So
we could
focusing on that particular sector, but enterprises gave you the leeway to expand a lot within the one same company.
And it was not super obvious. I mean, we had conversations, Javi, Luis, and I, regarding this particular question. Do we build a more black boxy solution for freight brokers, or do we just go and serve Telefonica and Deutsche Telekom and all of these utilities like Naturgy or Repsol?
That's fascinating. And actually, another tension that I see in AI, particularly in B2B, is, should we go more product or more platform? Right? And at times, like solving the whole problem for a customer means a combination of platform plus service. You cannot just, put it in a box and say, you're going to use this product. And that's especially true for enterprises. Because you say even how the way DHL runs their logistics operations might be very different to the way FedEx or Amazon do it, even though it's the same market.
Exactly.
Right, or the same industry. So I guess, where do you see more of the future going towards, product or platform?
Both. We actually say that our product is a combination of a platform and our deployments motion.
Okay.
At least with AI agents. It might be different with other parts of the economy or parts of the AI economy, but for AI agents in particular, for AI agents in the enterprise, 100% today, it's a combination of both. Like, why customers use HappyRobot is obviously because the product is great, and when you put it into production, it works. And you have agents doing all of the repetitive and mundane work that no one really wants to do, and really tapping into all of the context that enterprises are missing out on, all of the good stuff there. But that wouldn't be the case if we didn't have a great deployment motion that really uncovers the value. So it's all about uncovering the value and deploying agents that tap into that value. It wouldn't work to just have one or the other. We're not a consulting company. On the contrary, we're a product company, but none of it would make sense without a great deployment cycle, because deployments help improve the product every day. Every day we learn more about what the product should have. Our forward deployment engineers or deployment strategists are an extension of our engineering team. They actually fall under the CTO office.
Okay.
But at the same time, as the product matures and improves, it helps our deployments be faster. So it's a bit of a self-healing cycle, if you will, or it's a
Like a
virtuous cycle.
And I love this topic, and I wanted to ask you because I think of the let's call it post-ChatGPT era. You were one of the startups that went the most proactively, aggressively into the FDE motion. And that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And now it's almost become like table stakes, right? Like any new enterprise, any new startup or company trying to sell AI to enterprises are following the FDE motion. What I'm curious is, do you think doing or being really good at FDE, like, is that a long-term differentiator? Or is that more like a short-term thing until the enterprises get better and learn more about AI?
We've come to realize it's a huge long-term differentiator. It's the biggest go-to-market lever. It's a huge go-to-market lever. We didn't know that, but we found out through doing what we're doing today. Having a forward deployment engineer, having a deployment strategist on site with our customers day in, day out, obviously the type of customer has to justify it, but having the chance to collaborate with them on their premise, understanding their pain points, earning the right to do more, earning the right to solve more problems, that gives you your next project, your next agent to build. So that's why I say it's a go-to-market lever. It helps you know what to do next with that customer. It's never ending. I mean, the amount of work that you can do with AI today in the enterprise, it's almost infinite.
Yeah.
So by having someone physically there with the customer day in, day out, you get the tips to like where to go next.
Do you feel it's underestimated?
I think it has been. I know some of our competitors, if you will.
Historically, I mean, 5-10 years ago, people made fun of Palantir.
Yeah.
For doing, and made fun of the concept of an FD, right? And now it's hot and new grads want to be an FD, but 5-10 years ago, people would laugh at you, right?
Yeah. And now we're realizing that it is a huge leverage point for sure. But it only applies in certain environments. It only applies with certain type of customers. You cannot have, very tactically speaking, a forward deployed engineer working on an account that at most is going to be 50K, 100K, even $500,000 is too low. I think like around $1 million plus ACV is what you need really to justify the having a forward deployed engineer there. By the way, when I say FDE, I mean like both deployment strategies and FDE, and people have all sorts of different names for that today, like agent PMs or agent engineers. I mean, for us, our motion is probably a little bit different from other folks, I think. Probably is different from what Palantir does. At the end of the day, like, yes, we have hired, I think, like 6 people from Palantir, but like we're framing our own, we're designing or creating our own blueprint for our deployments motion. And it's really fun because you get to craft and draft a new way of doing work, but it's exciting.
What do you think people underestimate the most about doing FD well? Like maybe what were the things that took you the most effort and even mistakes to learn?
I'll just bring up a few very tactical examples. Starting to create too much structure was the initial tendency. Oh, we'll just have like the junior FD and the senior FD and the manager. And like that started to become a bit of a, we're just then creating like, like another, like a bit of a consulting like framework there, like the typical like level 1, level 2, not even consulting is the right word. Like we didn't want to create an environment where a hierarchy would limit the creativity of those folks. And the deployments team it has to be really creative, because the only way you scope value in a customer as big as a DHL, a Repsol, is by being creative and knowing how to navigate the account, how to find that right next use case to solve for. So they have to be really creative. You have to give them creativity. I say that the best way to retain unicorns is by letting them be unicorns. So you cannot do that if you give them like blinders and like you say, okay, you're gonna start just focusing on implementing these things. Someone is gonna give you an SOW or scope of work. Your job is just like to implement this. It's like, what do you mean? Like now I'm like a cog in a machine. And we initially started thinking about that. Like let's create a process. It's very natural for enterprise, for companies like startups growing, to build processes. It's very easy to fall into that trap.
Especially since the nature of, I guess, of FDs, it's a service. So maybe you lean towards, okay, I want to structure it so it's more scalable and it doesn't become, an unscalable service.
Yeah. It's the natural tendency, but it's the wrong tendency, or is the wrong solution. For us, it's super key to, we have a flat hierarchy. What we do is a framework where we're implementing impact reviews, where if you're an FD, you have different customers you're working with potentially. Obviously, as we grow and we have bigger customers and bigger check sizes, you'll be able to just focus on less amount of customers. But today, maybe you're like in 2 accounts, 3 accounts. You're working with different people throughout those accounts, right? So you naturally are going to receive feedback from those different team members. So it's not as easy as, you have your own manager. Like you don't have a manager. It's hard for your manager to have all of the context from those accounts. So the best way is to have a so-called buddy, or we call it commander internally, whatever. Like it's a bit of a funnel. It's not your manager. It's actually a funnel of feedback from other folks, and they're almost like your coach, because they're going to receive feedback from different folks in the company, and they're going to try to help you grow. And we're now starting to implement that process more explicitly. So far, we've been a little bit chaotic, to be fully honest, which intentional, because I wanted chaos over non-creative folks. And that's working pretty well now, and I'm excited about continuing doing that. I'm being a little bit against the traditional mantra of like VC, of like, you have to have structure, like have a manager of a manager of a manager. It's like, holy shit, and now I have like 17 freaking layers of like managers like not doing work.
We started talking about your expansion to new markets, but also as you were saying before, you're doing multiple services within a company, right? Not just sales or collections, you're doing customer support as well. And I want to talk particularly about customer support because that's especially as you go broader, that's probably the most crowded space in AI, at least from the outside, right? Yeah. And it's crowded by really formidable competitors, like the Sierras, the Decagons, the guys from Intercom were just acquired by Salesforce. So it's really good teams, really well funded, super talented people. How do you think about how can you win in that market?
The selection of these industries was intentional because it's industries where customer support doesn't live in a silo. It's part of an operation, and that's where having point solutions for one function like customer support will limit you inherently from growing into that company, into that enterprise. If you think about it, when let's use DHL again as an example. Or you ask for where your shipment is, and you call DHL, hey, where's my shipment, my package? It's not as easy as just connecting to a knowledge base and giving you an answer. That agent or that person has to actually turn around and figure out where the hell that shipment is. Many times, maybe they have to call someone else or reach out to another party, another vendor even of theirs that is actually moving that package. So whatever.
That's because the context to give that answer doesn't live in one area.
Exactly.
It lives in multiple departments.
Yes. So that is really what helps us differentiate from those more point solutions. And we are seeing that with customers. We saw one of the largest ocean carriers was evaluating us and one of those folks. And by the way, like formidable folks, like great product, great teams. But what they saw is that given the primitives of the platform, how we've thought about product, we were able to move a lot faster in deploying custom agents that maybe were not exactly meant for customer support. Maybe they were adjacent agents. In this particular one, it was a so-called customer support / account manager agent that was actually trying to reach out to those dormant accounts and seeing if they would want to maybe ship with these ocean carrier again. A bit of a sales use case, really. And we were able to implement these agent in, it's going to sound stupid, 2 days.
Wow.
Versus these other provider was quoting the customer 3 months to just get it to some initial version. And I think that talks to the product that we've built. Again, I think there's space for a lot of these different solutions. I think there's a lot of different companies out there where a point solution for customer support makes sense.
Okay.
It's not for us. We are not going to be able to compete there because it's hard to differentiate, really. Or rather, we don't want to compete there. We could, but it's hard to differentiate. It's hard to maintain or how to put it? It's how to defend. It's hard. It's a hard product to maintain and defend from others.
Now, what I wanted to ask about is also, I think about the case of Sierra, who has a CEO who can call anyone in the world and probably get a meeting with the CEO or CIO. In terms of go-to-market, how do you win a deal, or how do you source a deal faster, better than, some competitors that have unfair access, unfair advantage, which always fairly won, right?
I mean, first of all, we have to say we're super lucky with our partners. We have great access to pretty much all of the Fortune 500 through some of our investors and partners, including Andreessen and YC, for example, or based in as our Series B lead. So in terms of access, I would say that we're able to get in many of these rooms, maybe not as many as Brad Taylor, but obviously getting in the room is just the first step. So getting in the room is just the first 30 minutes of the conversation. What happens afterwards really is what defines the game. For us, we've been in many competitive deals with folks like that. And what we see is that ultimately what gets you the right to do more for that customer is really moving fast, solving real problems, understanding and listening to them, and that'll earn you the right to do more. So it's less about how you get in. Like, we have really unfair access as well through our network, and we're not really limited by the access to those folks. What we're maybe more limited about is finding great talent that can continue helping us grow this company, and we have a really high bar. I wish we could be hiring faster, but we're not gonna trade off the bar quality, and the culture is really important for us. We have a very hard working culture, but combined with these, we call it majo. In Spanish, majo means like wholesome, like nice. Like, it's a hard culture to maintain.
Which is hard to find in the Valley. You usually have to pick between one or the other.
Yes, yes. Keely, our head of strategy and former chief of staff, he joined us when we were like 9 people. Keely always says, I say former because he's still here, but he's now running strategy and operations. Keely always says, this is as if an NFL team was family owned, or I guess if we were talking about football,
Soccer,
as if Real Madrid was owned by a family. So in a sense, like it's Javi, it's my brother, it's Luis, my other brother from another mother. So it feels like a family, and then again, we have to perform. If you don't perform, you don't play. You're in the bench. So
it's still an NFL team or a soccer team.
So to your point, like, how do you compete with those folks? Really by out-executing them. A better product, better deployments, constantly heads down, building. We show up when it's needed. That is really how we maintain our right to do more with customers.
How are you and your customers thinking about, pricing on your side, but also ROI? Because it's such an evolving topic today. But I think it's going to be like the nature of the problems you solve. You can save probably even hundreds of millions of dollars to your customers. What I wonder is, will you be able to charge the typical 10%? Like, will you be able to charge tens of millions of dollars to one customer? Or is there a ceiling to that?
So I'll start saying that our customers typically don't only think about saving, they actually think about growing with the existing teams, which is really the type of customers that we want to work with, because they don't have a short-term mentality, they have a long-term mentality. Now, obviously, saving on costs always appeals to any CEO, but growing typically appeals them even more. So we use both. If you're
depends on the use case.
Exactly. If you're looking at a payment collections agent, that's
cash flow.
By the way, that's an absurd use case in terms of ROI. It's absurd ROI that you can generate because the cost of running an agent really is minimal compared to what you can. It's outsized returns on what you can collect. Now, if you're looking at customer support, it might be more of a cost center. Sometimes now folks are starting to look at customer support as a way to differentiate. Naturgy, this utility, this 30 billion revenue utility we serve, they, in the press release that we had with them, they talk about how they want to be the best customer support. They want to be the insignia, like, customer support in the world. They want to have the best customer support for their customers, and that's the way they can differentiate from the competition. So even if it's a bit of a cost center on the customer support, people are starting to see it more as a way to differentiate. And then sales types of use cases is generally more of a revenue generating use case. Now, recruiting. What is recruiting? You need to hire folks, especially in these blue collar worker type of industries. The type of the number of candidates that you get is typically in the hundreds of thousands. So it is a bit of a cost center as well to have to filter through all of those candidates, and having agents that can filter through those and screen those candidates is really ROI generating. So it's both. It's cost savings and revenue generation.
One thing that I'm super interested in, which is how you capture and store context across different areas. And today everyone's talking about context engineering, capturing the context from a customer. How are you thinking about that piece as part of your product strategy?
So there's two types of context, really. Luis, our CTO, talks about semantic context. The name of your customers, how much they're transacting. Let's use the utility example. Where they live, their bill. That's semantic context. The other context is operational context or execution context. How your workers do work. So you have to separate both.
Basically in the brain of your clients, employees.
Exactly, 100%. So one thing that we see some folks, competitors, or people do today is maybe mixing both into these black box agents. Maybe you build an agent that has both semantic and operational context in the thing itself. Like the agent kind of doesn't understand what the difference between operational context and semantic context is. Everything is just baked into the same
brain
thing, in the same product. That is a mistake in our view. Our view is to separate both, and obviously that has product implications, and we've had to build a product in a certain way that we can separate both, and in a way that we can also be adaptable and interoperable. For us, being highly interoperable is key. We have to be able to integrate to existing systems of record. We have to be able to create systems of record within HappyRobot. So we built what we call Twin. Twin is the name we gave, very creative name we gave to our context layer. Palantir created or crafted the ontology, which is really what has inspired many of us to think in those terms. So for us, thinking about that type of context is key. And we put a lot of effort into understanding what type of context we have to extract for the customer to see value, not only in the execution of work. So the execution of work is already valuable, but we also want them to see value in the type of information we're gathering from doing that work. There's a lot of data pieces that fall through the cracks because we humans are limited in our ability to capture that context, but agents can capture that, yes, operational context, which is really the definition of how to do the thing, but also that semantic context that before was falling through the cracks and people were not writing it down. In the space of supply chain or freight brokers, you might remember maybe last time, I think we talked about this use case where agents negotiate freight with truck drivers or carriers. If you put me doing the freight broker stuff, if I were to go to a logistics floor, I would be missing out on a lot of information about the carriers. But if you start remembering what that carrier typically likes doing, like, oh, they typically like moving or going from Dallas to Florida because in Florida they have their daughter that they have to visit. Those information pieces, that semantic context that typically has fallen through the cracks with human ability being limited is now what we can provide to customers.
Let's talk about the round and your next plans. You just raised $150 million round. Wow.
150 Series C.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. Can you announce the lead?
Valuation? Yes. So it's a 150 million round at a 1.2 billion valuation. So officially unicorn, which is great. Although these days I think it's like for granted, like, oh, it's like decacorn. We are very proud to partner with Prism Capital. Shout out to Carrie Way. She's fantastic. She led the Series C for Replit last year, I believe, and she was a true believer in our vision from day zero, really. I always say that I like to partner with the people, not with the fund per se. And Carrie was great. And it's called by Eurazeo, Anne Charlotte. Shout out to her. She's another one of those folks that I just immediately fell in love with from a business perspective from day zero. And they are both leading the round with participation from amazing strategics and follow on from Andreessen, Y Combinator, and Based In, and a few others that we can just share in the comments. But very
That's
excited
amazing.
for that.
And the plan, I think particularly what I've heard from a lot of your team is to go global, right? And you're making a big push to Europe and to Latin America.
Yes.
What I want to ask, and this ties to what we were also discussing earlier, why go global so early?
Great question. I also wouldn't have expected this.
Okay.
The reality is that the the customers we have are inherently global, and they've brought us places.
Okay.
With one of the telcos we work with in LATAM, we're starting out to deploy agents throughout the house, and they really have a lot of different countries they serve. So we inherently have to be in those regions and serve those customers there, those operators. We have to go on site many times and do that. So same with DHL, same with some of our customers in the ocean carrier side or in the air cargo.
Ocean carriers by definition are global.
Same with airlines, do a lot of work with the air cargo space now, and they just bring us places. And that's really how we've been pushed into those regions. Now we're actively very bullish on Spain and LATAM.
Sounds like you find a gold mine in logistics, right?
We're
going to start copying the strategy.
It was very good, but yeah, no, very lucky to be expanding there. For us, US and then Europe and LATAM is key. APAC, we're starting to grow the team now, and we're finding amazing success there as well.
What I was wondering when I was, hearing the comments from some of your teammates, with some of our friends about the big global push, is in my mind the typical, let's say, U.S. company, U.S. startup founded by a U.S. team takes much longer to go abroad, to go global. And I wonder if maybe you have, maybe it's more natural to you because you just come from outside, from abroad, and a lot of your team, it's been a lot of nationalities, right, from all over the world. Or is it maybe that there's, in a sense, AI is creating that type of pressure because there's so much competition? It's almost like, it's a land grab, and you have to go global. I think about 11 Labs with Carles Reina's playbook of go global. What do you think?
It's a combination, a boring answer, but it's a combination of, yes, we had an unfair advantage by being European and having access to amazing candidates, a lot of candidates on the hiring front, but also on the customer front, unfair advantage and access to customers there through our network, really. Which again, at the same time, opened up a lot of the work we're doing in LATAM, because a lot of the European
companies have
operations in LATAM. So that's that. And then, yes, the competitive pressure really to just go out quickly and make bets. Carles, our friend Carles, makes this point really well on make bets and really go early into those bets and see what works, what doesn't. I think you owe it to yourself.
The truth is, it's not the typical Silicon Valley playbook, right? Companies usually go abroad much later. In their
as we say as well, and many folks say, like, playbooks, the least the better. Frameworks over playbooks. That's what Mia from our team says.
I love that. And I'm curious, as you serve those, let's say, customers that are global or that are regional in Latin America or Europe, how different is it serving? And is it serving them? And I ask that because, in my experience, one of the let's say the big advantages of being a founder in the US is that customers, especially in the B2B side, they tend to be more early adopters. When you think about the Fortune 500, these companies are usually professionally run, like public companies. They have super capable executives, and it's almost like they have this bias or lean more towards innovation. Whereas, not I don't want to put it in a negative terms, but out in Europe, Latin America, companies tend to be like the large companies usually are not public. A lot of them are family owned. So just by nature of that, they tend to be a bit more risk averse, more controlled by some type of networks. So I'm curious if that means, I guess, if that shows in the way you serve them, and it has to be different.
You absolutely have to be catering to the differences. That's why building local teams is key. That's for sure. You have to have local teams. You cannot be serving your customers in Mexico with a team from New York. There's cultural differences that you have to cater to and really acknowledge and flourish and leverage. So that's for sure. That's why we've had a lot of success, for example, in Spain, with a team of over 40 people there, really crushing it because customers trust us, because we have a team there that can go and fix problems like next day. That was huge for them. Now, I think enterprises today are seeing, the how to put it, they're seeing the need, that competitive pressure, they're seeing it so close that they acknowledge they have to move fast. And if they had any concerns around what you said before, no, if they were less
more slow, more risk averse.
if they were more risk averse before, now they cannot justify that. They cannot be that way anymore because they have to go fast. All of this to say, we're seeing a huge pull from those markets that are non-US.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know this is probably like more personal tips or hacks. After this conversation, you're going to have a dinner with the CEOs of one of these big customers in the telco space that you're serving. How do you approach such a meeting?
I am one that doesn't prepare much these type of interactions. I just like to play by ear a little bit, maybe because of my background in arts. I just go and improvise.
Literally play by ear.
I just go and improvise a little bit. And I think that goes back to the being experts in listening and asking the right questions. So yeah, I just go and fill it out and really enjoy the time to share thoughts and ideas with our most trusted customers. So just enjoy it.
Pablo, you come across as super humble person, and I've heard that despite obviously you're super capable guy. Not that those two things are against each other, but I heard that from Catherine, your head of growth, and she told me that you usually when you ask questions, you tell people, assume I know nothing about this thing, even if you might know a bit about the topic, just because you want people to share every detail with you so you can learn the most. But that sometimes it produces like this, I guess, weird situations where people say like, how does the CEO doesn't know that, right? So I'm curious, like, how do you balance that humility, which is genuine to you, with, I guess, that selling conviction?
Yeah, I've definitely had to learn how to show convinced of our thesis, of our mission, of our vision. That's something that I've learned throughout the course of these last amazing 3 years. It's going to be 3 years soon since we started selling this product.
Did you have to become more salesy by being in the US?
Maybe a little bit more.
Because there's cultural differences also
100%.
there. Like the US compared to Spain.
You talk about that
America.
in the podcast with Ade from
Exactly.
Based in. 100%. You have to just be a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more. You have to sound convinced, which you are. I mean, we are fully. We've drawn the Kool-Aid of what we're doing, and obviously we believe in the amazing vision that we have. But yes, you have to really convey that. I think it's something you just learn, but I think it also helps if you show that, I want to learn more about your specific way of working.
Yeah.
I think that helps in showing up to customers. People want to be listened to, and that's important to us as well, to know how to exercise that muscle.
Pablo, one last closing question.
Yes.
If you had to thank one or two people for pushing you to think bigger, who would they be?
Great point. I literally had this conversation today with Carrie from Prism. So shout out to her on that think bigger. I would say the first time I heard that was from Ade actually. He was telling us here I'm looking at the office because he was giving a talk to the whole company, and he brought up that particular point: be ambitious, be bold, think bigger. I think this country helps us think bigger. Again, nothing against other regions, but Silicon Valley in particular is a place where you allow yourself to think bigger, which is great.
Pablo, thank you so much.
Thank you, Enzo.